Okay, we have a quorum, so we can get started on our budget work session. And thank you, Ms. Quinn and Ms. Michael, for postponing and for staying with us. So with that, I will turn it over to the two of you.
Thank you so much.
Actually, I'm sorry, and Ms. Whiddenden.
As we do every single year in November, right, we begin our fiscal forecast with a presentation to the school board in September, and then as we move through the process and have more updated financial information, we bring it back to the board. So each year in November, we bring an updated fiscal forecast to the Board of Supervisors. So we wanted to take just a few minutes today to go over with the board what changes we're including, what updates we have from the most recent available information that we'll be sharing with the Board of Supervisors. So I'm going to talk today from the one-page summary sheet that's posted, the chart itself, and not the one-pager summary. The other point that I wanted to make as we start is, and it was discussed at our last joint budget work group meeting, staff from both county and schools are working together to ensure that when we present our information at that joint meeting on the 28th, that we present that information consistently. Right, so we're really going to be looking, so we're each presenting what our shortfall is using the same methodology, and so we're clear as we're presenting items that we're presenting them in the same way, which we really hope will improve that discussion at that meeting and provide much better transparency. So what I want to do is I will just briefly go through and show you the updates that we've made. Okay. So on this chart, this is a summary chart of the fiscal forecast information that we presented to you in September, and you'll see that column is labeled FY19 fiscal forecast change over the approved. Right, so those were the incremental changes for our FY19 forecast that we shared with the school board in September. Then we've added the next column over that says change for BOS presentation on 11/28. So here's where we're updating information. And to make it easy, we've highlighted the notes in the right in the places that we've made changes. So I'm going to start off at the top in terms of revenue. The very first item where we have a change is state revenue. So in September, we were projecting an increase of $17.6 million or 4%, and we're updating that now to $22.6 million. That's a 5.1% increase, and it's $5 million higher than what we estimated in September. Now, the important thing to remember in terms of the state budget is we won't really know what the state budget is until the governor releases it, which doesn't happen until very late in December. But based on information that we've received to date in terms of our benchmarking and other components, we feel that we can increase this assumption. So again, as it was discussed at the last joint budget meeting about trying to ensure that we're not being too conservative in our revenue estimates, we're updating this based on that benchmarking. So overall, you can see that that's increased our projected funds available from $15.3 million to $20.3 million. So that's the only change in terms of our revenue forecast items. When we head into the expenditure section, the first item that we have highlighted is enrollment and student demographic changes. As again, we do every single fall, we receive new enrollment projections from facilities, and we completely recalculate our staffing for every single school from the ground up. Right? We don't have those enrollment projections completed and updated and that staffing done yet. So you'll see that we've left that estimation there, that $9.2 million, and we haven't updated it. But I just want to remind the board that, again, we will completely recalculate that staffing for inclusion in the superintendent's proposed budget, and at that point you'll see that updated number. The other changes that we have in the required expenditure section, I'm going to move down into compensation, and you'll see we have the line that says VRS, rate increase. That's a Virginia retirement system, right? We were originally projecting that that rate would remain flat. So you can see in our fiscal forecast in September, there was a dash. Since then, the Virginia Retirement System Board of Trustees has certified their rates for 19 and 20. So based on those rates, we know that we can project what the state will do, because remember, we moved to 100% of that rate as part of the FY18 budget. So they're actually decreasing that rate. We currently pay 16.44 or 16.32, excuse me, and it's going to decrease to 15.68 as a percentage. So that's going to reduce our expenditures by $9.8 million. Now, you'll also remember that since the state gives us revenue based on the SOQ funded positions, that's also going to impact revenue. So we've incorporated that revenue impact into that state revenue number that I shared earlier. Then the next item in this required category is the FCERS rate, the county retirement rate. We have employees who participate in the county retirement system. That's primarily our trades workers, custodian, food service workers, and bus drivers, as well as any part-time employees. Right, based on the county's rate information that they most recently shared with us, their projected rate is increasing to 27.14%. So that's going to increase our expenditures next year by $3.4 million. So those are the changes in terms of the required expenditures. So you can see overall, they're going down. So we were projecting 27.1 with that savings in the Virginia retirement system rate, slightly offset by that increase in county rate. Our required expenditures would be $19.8 million. When we move into the next section for salary increases, the first thing where you'll see we have a change is we had support for our grandfathered employees. In our fiscal forecast, we had $1 million originally. As you're going to hear in the next presentation, that $1 million will remain the same. The recommendation that we're making includes both a component of a bonus and tuition reimbursement. So just as you head into that next section, know that that level of required expenditure, recommended expenditure, remains the same. The next item we have on the chart that's highlighted, it's labeled additional MSA for non-teacher salary scales. So again, as we've been working with the county, we're really trying to use a similar methodology in terms of projecting our expenditures for next year. So based on preliminary information on where we assume their MRA or market rate adjustment will be when we meet on the 28th, we would need to add additional funding in terms of our total investment in our non-teacher scales to get to that estimated MRA level. So what we did is when we originally developed those non-teacher scales, it included no market movement. So remember, we had $5 million in our fiscal forecast in September for implementing those new scales. Then we had a line of $7.9 million, which included applying a 1% market scale adjustment because those scales were developed prior to assuming any market movement, right, which is different from the teacher scales where we were projecting market movement. When we combine both of those things, we would need to add an additional $5 million to get to that estimated level. So we're showing on the 28th a similar level of salary increases between county and school employees. So that's that change. So when you look at all of those, right, that changes our salary increases from $87.3 million to $92.3. So when you combine all of those revenue and expenditure changes at the very bottom line, we were projecting a gap prior to any increase in the county transfer of $98.2 million in September. That required a 5% increase in the county transfer. With all of the adjustments that we've made today, that gap does decrease to $90.9 million, and that would require a transfer increase of 4.6%. So this is just an update on all of the numbers that we'll be adjusting for that joint presentation. And then school staff and county staff will be working together to come up with a presentation formula, or format and methodology that we think will make it very easy for both boards to discuss the information presented.
Excellent. Thank you for your succinct summary. I have Ms. McLaughlin, and then I will be looking around to see if anyone else has questions.
So I remember last year when we met with the county in this sort of initial fiscal forecast, and County Executive Ed Long was completely non-committal when I said to him, what are you projecting that, you know, the guidance here for transfer amount and what we can be building our budget toward, and what you expect the sort of the revenue share will be between county services and the schools based on the revenue projections. And as a result, my concern, and every year, Dr. Brabrand, this is the challenge we come into, is that we show a dash mark under, you know, county revenue. And so some of the supervisors will say to us, well, we gave you in our, you know, sort of 2-year budget, you know, what do they call it? Is it their 2-year budget?
At their multi-year budget and their guidance.
Their multi-year budget guidance. They'll say, you know, well, we're expecting revenue. We expect to grow at somewhere between 2 and 3%. So schools, you know, you need to kind of bank on that build your budget based on 2%.
So Ms. McLaughlin, this is exactly what we want to change in the joint presentation on the 28th. We don't want to go in and show the school system showing no increase in funding from the county, have the county show some level of increase in funding, and we're not showing an equal transfer, and we're also not showing two gaps that could be added together to get to the total need.
Yep.
So that is one of the things that we'll be working on. The county's guidance when they adopted their budget last year said that they should plan, the county executive should plan on using the same methodology for proportionately sharing the revenue, maintaining the proportion. So as we work with county staff to complete this presentation, my expectation is that both county and schools will show that proportionate revenue share, and then from there you'll be able to see what each of our gaps are.
And that is incredibly welcoming news after years and years of, saying that we go in and then they get mad and they accuse us of creating alarm in the community because we would show something like a 90.9 million and they'd say, well, we usually give you an increase of 50 million plus. So really your delta is close to 40 and you're creating panic. And so that's huge improvement. So kudos to all of you who are involved in going that approach. I think for the first time, the community is going to especially appreciate the fact that we can start having real conversations and not the ones that really create initial alarm. So that was just my primary focus. But if we go back up real quick, the only other number that I kind of was trying to understand was, it's at the FCERS rate increase. So they're projecting a rate increase of 27%.
No, they're projecting an employer rate of 27.14%.
Okay.
Right?
From 25.8, so it's
Okay.
a
All right.
percentage
Yeah.
and a half.
Okay. I would just be careful with that because I think that it kind of at the first blush, it sort of looks like it's the rates increasing. I know it's saying to 27, but it might be from to might help. Then people won't sort of look at it and go, in context, 25 to 27. Okay, that happens.
Okay.
Mr. Moon, and that may be
Yeah,
our wrap-up.
just on that one, 27.14%. So if 27.14% of what?
So that's of the salary base. So for the employees participating in that retirement system, it's 27.14% of the salaries of those employees.
Okay, so if someone makes $100, they're gonna put in $27 toward. Thank you.
All right, and with that, I see no more questions, and we have no next steps. So thank you so much for that information. You had.
I was just going to say, and as a reminder, I used this spreadsheet formula to walk the board through this today, but when we meet with the county, we will be doing a PowerPoint presentation as we do each year. It's just that the format of that PowerPoint presentation will end up being different because we want to make sure we're using the same presentation methodology as the county.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Oh, Dr. Brabrand?
I just want to say, I'm wrapping this up, but we've had great meetings with the county, their staff, our staff, county exec, myself. We're being straightforward, honest, direct. We're gonna do shared leadership, and we're gonna bring these boards together to collectively problem solve. And I think the budget is going to be one of the first areas where you see the fruits of this approach. I'm looking forward to the continued process. It's obviously my first year. I'm going to make a few mistakes. I already have, but I'm really feeling good about the budget framework that we've outlined with them and that they've outlined with us. I've really felt like they have brought us in as full partners in this exercise.
And with that, this work session is adjourned. We'll take 2 minutes and then go to our last work session of the night. Thank you so much.